Welcome to a special edition of the Referrals podcast. Introducing our new Daily Dose. We've assembled the ultimate crisis response team for your business. Generous leaders from around the globe teaming up to teach, guide, and lead you through this time of isolation and quarantine. Now let's meet your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome everyone to the Daily Dose. We are here and we are ready to go. I will tell you what, today is going to be rock solid. You know what I forgot to do yesterday? I forgot to do the pleasantly surprised. You need to tell me, what have you been pleasantly surprised by when it comes to the quarantine times? So I will tell you that I have been pleasantly surprised by how awesome my son has taken to my coaching in baseball. Like, that has been one of the things that I truly have just found amazing. And I will tell you that another thing I've been pleasantly surprised by is I bought goods in bulk in December. And it was one of those where, you know, I bought all the deodorant for the year. I bought all the shampoo for the year, all the hair gel for the year. I bought all of these things for the entire year. And it's one of those where I am so glad I did that, because we're not like running out of anything. I mean, we've got plenty of toothpaste, we don't have to run to the store for stuff, but every December and January, I make a list of the things that we use throughout the year. And then what I do is I then buy it in bulk, which saves me a bunch of time. Now, I'm not talking about like meat products and fruit and things like that. I'm talking about things like toothpaste and deodorant, hair gel, shampoo, conditioner, soap, toilet paper, paper towels, paper plates. And yeah, in January, our house is a little full in the storage areas. But guess what? Over time, you use it all. And imagine how much time you're saving not having to go to Costco or the store or places like that. So that's one thing I've been pleasantly surprised about. Below, put what you have been pleasantly surprised about during the quarantine times, and just put PS and then your positive statement below, and some others are going to get their thoughts on that as well. So some other announcements here real quick. I've got some shout outs I've got to give to some of our listeners and viewers. So Wendy Hilson says, these podcasts have been a blessing for me, helped me to change my mindset towards my business and life. Thank you, Michael J. Maher and the Daily Dose, from a very grateful listener. We have another one here from GD Guth, and that is, I look forward to these podcasts, great content and great personality. Did you hear that? They think I've got a great personality, right? If you can't be good looking, have a great personality. That's my mantra. Best interactive community online. Michael Maher and his team generate so much energy and enthusiasm on his podcast and on his webinars and in his group. You cannot help but fill up with inspiration. If you are looking for a level 10 resource, tune in. I love it. And then we have this one from TB. Love this 7L concept, read the book 7 Levels of Communication, and realized that I was implementing this already on a very low level and wondered what the heck would happen if I did this at a higher level. And listening to the Daily Dose daily and listening to the Referrals podcast helps greatly with implementation. Keep up the good word, Michael. Well, I'm not going to quit. We're going to keep going. Right? So announcements, 30 Mornings class starts May 11th, 30mornings.com. Listen, what has everybody been talking about? Get back to your morning ritual, get back to your nightly ritual. If you have a nightly ritual, you'll sleep better. If you have a morning ritual, you'll do better during the day. 30mornings.com. The vision board class, and of course cocktails, is Friday at 6 p.m. with Jen Scarpero and Sherry Mayer. Me and my son Max will be front and center. We will be attending that vision board class. We recommend you do too. Check the event section in the Generosity Generation group for details. Tomorrow, we have the Tony Robbins of South Africa. Mr. Roger Savvy is going to be on, and he's going to talk about, what is your tennis ball? Ooh, doesn't that sound good? Friday, Shalee Davis is going to talk about a ritual that can change your life. I cannot wait for that. Now, this is my reminder to all of you to start your watch party. If you have not started your watch party yet, start your watch party. All you have to do is go up to the share, which is right below us, go to start watch party, click on it, and then you need to go and change it from Generosity Generation Group to your personal profile page or your page, or you can change it to your Facebook group if you have been following this and you have already created and are leading a Facebook group. I have to tell you, I'm so excited about today. It's like today we have given the gift of a crystal ball and a wizard, and this is one of the smartest people that I've ever known in my life. I gave a big shout out to Tina Gaupoli earlier about making this connection about 10 years ago. And listen to this. Barry Habib is an American entrepreneur and frequent media resource for his mortgage and housing expertise. He frequent appearances on CNBC and Fox. He is the CEO of MBS Highway, the mortgage industry's most highly regarded and recognized tool for transforming salespeople into trusted advisors. Some notable awards that he's won, and these are just three. Two-time Crystal Ball Award winner. I mean, if you're going to have somebody on with a crystal ball, you want to have the guy who won the Crystal Ball Award winner for 2018 and 2020 by Zillow and Pulseonomics for the most accurate real estate forecast out of 150 of the top economists in the U.S. I have to, what happened in 2019? It's like, what? So 2019, here's what happened. He was the Mortgage Professional of the Year by National Mortgage Professional Magazine. 2019, he was also a finalist for the prestigious Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Are you kidding me with this? It's just like, we don't even need to talk today. It's just like, listen, he has had many successful businesses across different verticals. He's done the mortgage market guide, healthcare imaging solutions, certified mortgage associates. He's the founding partner in Social Survey, for those of you that are familiar with that social media medium. During his mortgage sales career, Barry personally originated over, get this, $2 billion, that's with a B, $2 billion in mortgages. Lead producer and managing partner for Rock of Ages, the 27th longest running show in Broadway history. He produced Chris Angel's Mind Freak at Planet Hollywood in Vegas, highest rated speaker and trainer for over 25 years in mortgage and real estate. And he's got a book coming out soon called Money in the Streets. Are you kidding me? Like, what do you do in your spare time? Gee, welcome to the Daily Dose, Barry Habib.
It's great to be here with you. It's always good to be around you, my friend. I miss seeing you. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for your leadership in our industry, in many industries, actually, my friend. You really have been just such a great leader, a great light, a great educator, motivator, inspirational thought person in so many different ways. So thank you.
Well, that's our show today. Thank you so much, everybody. I just wanted to just let Barry come on and say what he just said right there. And I think I'm done. I mean, if he says nothing else from now on, I'm the most happy guy on the planet. So, all right. So we gotta jump into this a little bit about, like, what's the housing market going to look like, after the quarantine? That is, listen, if you can answer that question, I mean, like, I skipped, right? It's just like, what is the number one question in America right now? What is the housing market going to look like after quarantine?
So let's think about where we are. So we're in a lockdown period. We move to an unlockdown period where it's going to be very lumpy. Unemployment's still going to be elevated. Our internal numbers, and we'll have the more updated ones tomorrow, but as of last Thursday, we calculate 17.1% current rate of unemployment. Jeez. There's a close correlation between having a job and taking out a mortgage. So we know that, buying a home. So we're in a little bit of a stress situation. Plus, just physically, I don't have to tell you, it's more challenging to allow people into your home, to go visit homes. So there are some challenges out there right now. We can probably expect it to be a bit lumpy. We think, depending on the market you're in, but overall in the U.S., look for about a 1% to 2% decline in real estate prices in 2020. Now, as we move from unlockdown, which is still lumpy because we're still going to be cautious about this thing, we hope to get a vaccine by the end of the year, but then you still have to get it ramped up in production, and then it still has to be dosed. I mean, could you imagine lines and lines of people? Right. No. So, but that's what's going to happen. Once we get a reasonable period, a reasonable percentage of our population inoculated, then we're going to go back to hugging each other and high-fiving, and business will come back. Because even if you have much of the country start to open up, two challenges, right? First, will people want to come out? And then can businesses survive at lower levels? They're small margin businesses. If you get a 30% drop in, and that'll be great to get a 30% drop in customers coming in, can the business survive? Here's another problem. Even if you get people to come, can you get your employees back?
Yeah.
Because do they put themselves at risk? Are they comfortable? They've got unemployment now for 9 months instead of 6, and it's $600 more. So they might say, hey, maybe I'll just sit at home. I won't put myself at risk, and I'll make even more money by staying at home. And if they go back to work, maybe their employer says, especially if you're making tips and business is down, you might make a lot less money if you're dependent on tips. There's a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Once we get a vaccine, you will see housing and real estate, to answer your question, perform incredibly well. We're looking 5 to 6% rates of appreciation for a long time. There's simply too many more households being formed than there is starts of homes that could be coming to market, and existing homes are just not enough to meet the demand. So just the laws of supply and demand take over. You will see home prices be pressured to the upside. This is an opportunity where we are right now. Any chaotic situation presents opportunities. We want to look for several different areas. We could talk about them, Michael. One of them is buying real estate. Because 2 months ago, when we thought Corona was a beer, you would be looking for a home, you'd be outbid by people, you would have no basic concessions made by the seller on terms. So you were ponying up for a home. And it could be frustrating, especially if in your own zip code, if you take the median home price, and let's just say you double that median home price, almost anything beneath that is going to be red hot. Once you start to drift them up above 2 times median home price, the market starts to soften and get softer and softer and softer the higher up you go into the luxury market. So what you're going to see is more suburban sprawl. So entry on fire, move up really, really strong, luxury soft. But you're going to be seeing so many people want to get out of apartments. Being cooped up in a rental right now is leading people to say, hey, to the extent that I can do so, I want a home, I want space, I want room. So I want room inside and I want distance outside. So this is what people are going to be looking for. Plus, there is a baby factor. The number one reason for people to purchase a home, if you take 30-somethings, these are millennials, someone between 30 and 39, the statistics show that if you have no children, your homeownership rate is 38%. You have one child, it goes to 80%. More than one child, 82%. So if you believe in what many experts are saying, that being cooped up might result in 2021 having more births, then you're going to look at a lot more people that will be looking to purchase homes beginning 2021. So those who can, to the extent you can, I don't want to be insensitive, because people might have challenges now to buy a home. But if you are able to purchase a home right now, you will be handsomely rewarded. And think about it this way too. The median time that a person stays in the home, according to the National Association of Realtors, is 10 years. Man, if you buy a home now and you're looking at a 2030 sales date, you're going to be so freaking happy. And look at any metrics, okay? So first of all, we talked about household formations. We look at something called turning the lights on. How many new electrical contracts are there? Meaning, I went to my local power and light company and I got a new bill, right? Because I've now took out an apartment. So we look at that data and it shows that households are being formed at enormous rates. And the way to handicap that is you go back to the median age of a first-time home buyer, which is 33 years old. When you go back 33 years ago to the mid to late 80s and you look at birth rates, it looks like a staircase. They went up, 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 up every year into the mid 90s. So for the next 7 or 8 years, you're going to be seeing this continued influx of more and more and more and more people than the previous year every single year. That demand is too much for housing to keep up with, so prices have to go up. Plus, COVID has caused builders to produce less homes, not more, exacerbating the problem. 2 more quick metrics for you. The price of a home today compared to rent. That's the rent to own price ratio. If you take a look under the current circumstance of taking a look at what a home would rent for, you multiply that by 17 times the annual rent times 17 will tell you what that home is selling for. Okay, so if your rent were $1,000 a month, $12,000 would be the annual rent. 12,000 times 17 is roughly somewhere in the range of 194,000. that's what the value of that home would be, about $194,000 for every $1,000 in rent per month. Historically speaking, that's pretty close to average. When the housing market got in trouble, it was 24 times. If you take a look at price to replacement cost, it's 1.59. When we got in trouble in housing, it was 230. So every metrics you look at is telling you housing is going to be great. What about interest rates? Interest rates will remain very low for a very long time, Michael, because what you are seeing here is we can look at any point in time in the history of mankind. Every government everywhere in the world, the higher the government debt, the more downward pressure on interest rates. Why? Imagine a family that has jacked up their credit cards so much, car loans, they got so much debt that they have very little disposable income or discretionary income to generate economic activity. When governments have to service the debt load, like we're going to have $25 trillion in debt, you know what the debt load is going to be? It creates a very big drag on economic growth. It slows down something called velocity money. All these contribute to downward pressure on rates. So you're going to be seeing an environment of interest rates that will be continuously low, giving a great opportunity for home buyers, but also an enormous opportunity in refinance activity. If you're listening and you're in the mortgage business, this year we're supposed to do in 2020 $1.3 trillion, and we all know that that's keeping people busier than they could have imagined. Well, right now, do you know that of the $11 trillion that exists in mortgages out there, $6 trillion would benefit from a refinance? How are you going to do $6 trillion in mortgages when your capacity is 1.3 trillion?
Like 11, out of 11 trillion, 6 trillion still would benefit from a refinance. Like over half. Are you telling me that over half the people haven't refinanced in the last year or two?
Some of them have, but remember, we just seen interest rates decline rather significantly just in the past few months. So when you take a look at the drop in the past couple of months, you know, many people who had refinanced still have interest rates. Put it this way, according to the recent data from Black Knight, 11 million people, 11 million families with homes could benefit by refinancing, and that's saving 0.75% if rates are 3.5. Rates are 3.25. It's like 14 million people that can benefit from a refinance of saving 0.75. That doesn't count those who could save 0.5%. And here's the other secret weapon. Let's take a look at the housing environment. There are 124 million households, 124 million households in the U.S. 65% are owned, and the 35% that remain are rented. So if we look at those that are owned, 34% of homes that are owned free and clear. Think about that. The other 53 million homes that have a mortgage, do you know what the average loan to value is? Meaning the percentage of the value of the home that is a mortgage? It's 53%. People have 47% is equity. The average amount of equity is $177,000. So what I'm bring that up, 2 reasons. If you're a realtor listening to this, people have a lot of money to move up, a lot of money. If you're a mortgage professional, the level of debt in the United States right now is the highest it's ever been in our history. People have car loans, credit cards that they've jacked up. You can use the money in their home, pay off all their debt. And here it doesn't matter if you're saving money on their mortgage rate, because the monthly savings is so great. You could take somebody from 3.5%, put them in a 5% loan, okay? Just to be crazy. And here's what would happen. You'd save them on average $1,500 a month. And if they were in a position where they don't need the $1,500, because now you've paid off all their credit cards, car loans, stuff like that. If they took that $1,500 savings and accelerated their new mortgage that they take out at 5% and pay it down by that $1,500 savings. So in essence, Michael, they're keeping their monthly payment exactly where it is today. No change. You take that $1,500 and you pay it down, you know you'd save their more, instead of, let's say if they had 27 years left, they'd have 11 years left. So think about saving 16 years worth of payments every single month. So about 192 payments of $3,000 a month that you don't have to make. Every single first of the month, 192 times, you're going to say, I made $3,000.
And you have no debt. You paid off your car. You paid off your loan.
No debt.
It's like, and you have no debt, right? I mean,
and that's, by the way, Michael, that's going from 3.5% to 5%. Okay. So proper debt management is literally the way to preserve your future, to build your future, to pay for your kids' college education. It's not doing anything by taking on more debt. It's just managing the existing debt you have smarter. Most people look at a refinance and say, oh, great, I'm going to save $200 a month. Well, that's nice. It's nice. Okay, $200 a month. What does that come out to? I mean, really, when you think about it, $6 a day? Are you really going to change your life with $6 a day? $6 a day. Would you even feel it if you saved it? Now, everybody's so crazy. Oh, save $200 a month.
Yeah.
So what? Okay,
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay, it's nice. But what about if we saved you 16 years worth of payments? What about if we gave you an extra $340,000 in equity after the 11 years when your mortgage is paid off, so you can now pay for your kids' college? You can now have that money for your retirement. How many people listening to this have zero in their retirement account right now with retirement approaching? Okay, think about changing your life. And that's what you could do if you properly manage your debt. And you could do that right now.
That's why we need a trusted advisor in the mortgage world, right? It's the biggest debt we have. And it's probably the with smart advising, it's one of the most powerful tools in our life. You know, everybody's talking about, don't buy a home. It's not an asset. This, and it's like, whatever, it's like, I mean, it's a tool, right? It's a wealth building tool. A mortgage is a wealth building tool.
Michael, I just want to repeat what you said, because what you said is essentially gold. Okay. So if you're listening to what Michael said, was he really just kind of cut to it? This ability to restructure your debts and do all this, it's only possible if you have a home. You can't do it if you don't have a home. So It's nice to have a home for all the amenities and all the good stuff. And yes, the home appreciates. But if you use it in conjunction with debt management, then Michael nailed it, because what he did was he looked at exactly how do you get from point A to point B? The one thing you need is you need to have a home.
So I kind of see this, I think, in terms of like flow charts sometimes. And so it's one of those where it's like, all right, if you have a job, like it's one of those where if you have a job, there's two things you need to be doing. You need to be buying. And listen, I am not that guy that is, now is a great time to buy. Now is a great time to buy. But here's the thing. Warren Buffett sold all of his airline stock. Why did he do that? Right? He sold it at 95 cents. He's going to buy it back in 6 months to a year for 45 cents. That's what he's thinking anyway. That's just good, smart thing, right? Well, if you have a job and like you see the possibility of getting a home, like in the next 3 to 6 months, like you need to buy, like you need to take advantage of this dip in the market. There's less competition. There's a little bit of risk in seeing homes, but it's not killer risk for the most part. And you're going to take the precautions necessary, but it's one of those where it's like, now is a really good time to buy if you have a job. Now here's the other side of, okay, let's say you have a job and you know what, you're really not looking to move. You need to get with your trusted mortgage advisor and see what you can do with your mortgage, not refinance, right? Everybody's just like, you just need to refinance. Now, refinance may be part of that strategy, but it's like, what can you really do with that? In our history, my wife and I's history, we have paid off cars, not used our home as an ATM, but we have paid off cars, where it had like 1% or 3% or whatever it was. And just like, you know what, let's just have that car free and clear. And so we have done these creative things with the mortgage that we could not have done before. And you know what? Every single time we smelled like roses in the end. We didn't even feel it. That's what's so amazing. And then, all right, so now let's go to.
So just can I just kind of highlight a couple of things you said? So one, you mentioned Warren Buffett. So what's Warren Buffett doing? He's essentially underscoring what we just talked about.
Yep.
We know it's going to be lumpy coming back. We don't know how many people are going to want to fly, want to travel, want to sit in a tube, and who's going to take those risks. But then you also mentioned the risks of doing this. Mm-hmm. So Michael, you probably know this, but we're very close with the head of the Cleveland Clinic. We've had him on many, many times. Dr. Oz's partner, that's Dr. Mike Roizen. Speak to him every day, so we get updates every day. Here are the latest statistics that he just broke yesterday. By the way, he's in touch with the government. He is responsible for getting the state of Ohio opened up. So Mike Roizen gave me these statistics yesterday of the deaths that we have. Sometimes the media will kind of get crazy numbers. The rate of mortality from this disease is probably between 0.5% and 1%. That's what it is. The flu is like 0.2%. This is probably going to be 0.6, 0.7%. So certainly much more deadly, but not like when you're seeing people say, oh, 10%, 20%. No. And of those people that died, what's really important about this disease is that if you were to take out people in nursing homes and those over the age of 70, which is why we have to look out for those people because they're the most vulnerable, those poor folks. If you remove those, you remove 80% of the deaths. 80% of the deaths are in one of those two categories, in a nursing home or over age 70. Of the remaining 20%, an extraordinarily high proportion are those with comorbidities. So if you're relatively healthy, okay, God forbid, never want to get this disease. Right. If you're below 70 and relatively healthy and you want to take precautions, you want to be safe, if you get the disease, your chance of dying from it is really, really, really slim.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an important thing we should know.
Are you enjoying the Daily Dose? Want to connect with thousands of other business owners that are winning the referral game while working from home right now? Head over to the Generosity Generation Facebook group. Connect with leaders, visionaries, and business owners from all over the world. Go to www.joingengen.com. That's www.joingengen.com.
We've talked about like jobs and jobs is for every realtor and mortgage person, or quite honestly, any of you, if you want to see the economic standing of your location, either locally or regionally, nationally, whatever it may be, look at the jobs report. In many cases, that can kind of lead you on the path of making some decisions and just kind of getting a gauge. Is it the whole gauge? Absolutely not. That's why we have Barry Habib, right? But it's one of those where, here's the thing. Let's talk about, there's people who have lost their job, Barry, unfortunately. And, everybody's talking about this word that we haven't heard since 2008, which is, forbearance. And so, what is the impact of a forbearance? And maybe what are the decisions to be made? Do I do it or do I not?
So it just so happens to be, I had a 1-hour discussion yesterday with Mark Calabria, who is the head of the FHFA, which governs both Fannie and Freddie. So you got Mark Calabria, Mike Pence, Donald Trump. So he's pretty high up there. So we had a really good talk yesterday, and I got a lot of excellent information from him. So number one, the forbearance window, he says there's a good chance that the initiation of a new forbearance, that window may close the end of this month. Should you do forbearance? Well, if you really need it, you should. What happens if you go into forbearance? There are some negative consequences. So if you don't need it, do not do it. First of all, it's not moral to do. Secondarily, you're jeopardizing the whole system. And third, you gain nothing from it. You have to pay it back. Now, here's the thing, is that the guidelines for Fannie Mae right now state this. If you take forbearance, in order to get a new mortgage, you have to first bring your loan current and then wait 12 months. Boy, the opportunity for low interest rates, the debt consolidation, buying a new home at a deal, you're in the penalty box. You can't do anything. Why? You had the money. You tried to be a wise ass. You didn't make the payment. You made $15 in your checking account from it. Congratulations. You got $15. You did something bad morally. And now penalty for you is it says forbearance on your credit. Nobody's touching you until you bring it current, and then 12 months. And all the opportunity that's out there, you're out. Now, if you really need the forbearance, certainly you should use it because you're in a tough spot. You should be able to use it. And if you could prove the hardship that you really lost your job and you weren't just a wise guy, then the lenders have the ability to work with you if you show that you lost your job and you had to bring it back current. They will work with you. But if you were a wise ass, no soup for you. So this is something that people really need to understand, that they are jeopardizing themselves if they do forbearance. Yep. Now, a couple of other things about forbearance that you should know, and it's a little bit in the weeds in the mortgage industry, but there is something called a first payment default. And that first payment default is something where the loan no longer would be saleable. Meaning that when you take out a mortgage, if you say right after you close, I'm going into forbearance, that loan can't be sold, which now is going to cause a dramatic increase in pricing to the entire industry to account for those. So we want to try and limit the amount of these, because now everybody's seeing a premium rates. Rates should be under 3% right now.
Yeah.
There's a capacity premium, there's a premium because unemployment's high, and there's a premium to account for these forbearances. The reason why rates are like 3.5, 3.25, and not 2 3/4 is because of those premiums. As we get back to where we can work, we're not working from home, we increase capacity. That starts to come out. As the unemployment rate goes from currently 17, probably on its way up to 18, 19,
Yeah.
as that starts to come down and people start to feel better about things, and certainly as we get into 2021, that premium comes out. And then this forbearance risk, as that comes out, you're going to probably see an interest rate environment that's much lower. So you don't want to do forbearance because you're going to miss the boat. You're going to miss a 2 3/4% mortgage rate and change your life with debt consolidation.
3%, dude. We're talking 3% mortgage rates. I just been in since the 90s, and it's just like, I remember when 6% was just like,
Yeah.
3%, all of a sudden the mortgage becomes an even more powerful tool.
So amazing.
It's just amazing. And, I will tell you, so, I'm in Atlanta, and they have kind of raised the curtain a little bit of the safe haven and stay at home and that kind of thing. And people are starting to get out and about, and they are starting to go back to jobs. And listen, I know this isn't a rehearsed question, but I know you're the guy to ask this question. So, where are we at on the bell curve of unemployment? Do you think we're going to see more unemployment, or have we reached the zenith and they think it's going to be coming down? So
we have not yet reached the zenith, because you're going to probably see 3 million. So by the way, today we got the ADP report, and how about this? 20.2 million people lost their job in the month of April. 20.2 million people. Now, by the way, 20.2, that 0.2, the little thing to the right of the decimal that looks like a rounding error, that 0.2 that you would just kind of, that 0.2, that's 200,000 people.
Yeah.
If we would have just have 0.2 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that 200,000 job losses, the market would have been standing on its head.
Yeah.
20 million, 20.2. That 0.2 would have made it crazy.
Yeah.
20 million.
Wow.
Now, tomorrow we're going to get the initial claims. We expect last week about 3 million people also lost their jobs.
Wow.
Depending on how many came back to work, it should elevate the unemployment rate from in the range of currently, now this is our number, 17.1%. That's our real-time number. We think that it brings us up around 18%, maybe a little higher than 18%, depending on how many people come back, how many people are continuing claims. So we think that that's a reasonable guesstimate of where it is. Maybe it gets up to 19, maybe 20, but I think that's where you're going to hit the zenith. That's where you'll start to see these openings help. And then it's a matter of how fast do we start to see that unemployment rate come down. I think it comes down pretty good initially, but then it reaches a plateau where it's going to be hard to see it come down fast until we get a vaccine. We get a vaccine, and then in the second half of 2021, we get back down to not 3.5% unemployment, because some businesses won't come back, but I think you'll be at 6.5% unemployment, which is just fine. I think the 50-year average is 5.9%.
So how close is that to record levels? 20%. I mean,
there's only been one time it was higher than that. So let's go through 3 peaks in unemployment. So you had 10.3% during the Great Recession, dot-com bubble 10.8%, and then in the Great Depression, which is even with our advanced age, Michael, that's before our time, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
I shudder to think, Michael, you said you got it in the 90s. I got it in the 80s. I think between the two of us, we probably have over 60 years worth of mortgage experience. My goodness, right? Think about that.
That's crazy. I'm not that old.
Yeah, I know, but you look great. But anyway, so to answer your question, the Great Depression, when we saw in the early 1930s, unemployment rates hit a level of 24%. So not quite that bad, but we're approaching those levels. We are going to be double the second highest level that we've ever seen.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And so what message should, we have a lot of realtors in the group. About 80% of our group is real, maybe not 80, maybe 70% at this point. But what is the message of the moment for past and current and future clients?
So you have an amazing opportunity as a real estate agent right now. So I know that, first of all, listen, it's got to be a scary time for you. Okay. And it's got to be a tough time for you because certainly you're worried about your own health and your family's health. I mean, that's the most pressing thing because this virus is scary and we don't really have a therapeutic treatment for it yet. We don't have a vaccine yet. It's scary. And we all know wearing masks and gloves, it's like an awful time. It's horrible, right? So this has got to be a scary time for you personally. And then you've got clients that are scared, whether they be sellers, whether they be buyers, and it's much more difficult to facilitate transactions. So think about trying to remove points of friction. What can you do from a safety standard to bring people in? Can you find Lysol somewhere? Put it by the doorway, spray people's shoes before they come in, or take off their shoes, spray them down with Lysol, what the heck? And try to do as much as you can virtually so that when they do want to come in and see the home, their time in the home is limited. Take those steps. You be the expert. And then you see what Michael's doing here? He puts out such great content. When you listen to him, don't just listen and consume it. What I want you to do is listen to his stuff over and over again and then take notes. Take his advice and take notes that you can utilize. Because then what I want you to do is, I don't want you to go online to do an hour presentation, but I want you to go online and I want you to do 1 minute, just 1 minute. So what do you have to do? Take your darn phone. You don't need to buy a camera. You don't need to do anything. Take your phone, turn it around and do a 1 minute post on Facebook. If you need to record it to be safe, great. If you want to do it live, like Michael's doing here, do it live. But do it because you need to be a web celebrity. You need to be a celebrity that's local. You need to be a leader. You need to be the light that others have. And there's never been a time in the history of mankind where you have a captive audience that you have right now. Because people are home. Yeah, they're watching Netflix, but you know what? There's only so many binges you're going to do. You want to consume some real good information. And what Michael will teach you is the things that you can utilize, not just for you, but that you can now teach others. So you don't have to do an hour. Like I said, take 1 point because you've taken notes. Now, after you take the notes, don't just go on and do it. Talk about it. Because you know the best way to learn? By teaching. Talk about it to anybody that'll talk to you. Now, Tony Robbins and I are really close friends. We talk pretty much every day. And what he will tell you, what he shared with me is he became a great speaker because he would practice his speech 6 times a day to anybody who would listen. One person, 4 people. So this is what you have to do. Michael's a great speaker. He doesn't just get up on stage. He rehearses. He practices. So what you want to do is you want to practice. You want to be out there and talk to anybody you can about this so that it kind of sounds really like you've got it airtight. Then do a little 1 minute thing. Take your phone, turn it towards you, speak into it, and then post it. You will find that you will be developing and building an incredible following at this time that will transcend through this period because you'll be the advisor. You'll be where they go for great information. You're going to be the one that they're going to want to do business with. This is your time, your opportunity. All you have to do is take it. Don't stand by idly and watch other people use this period of time as a catapult, as a launching pad for their business. You make it the launching pad for your business. I don't care where you are. If you're starting off, if you're super successful, this opportunity will take you to the next level higher.
I mean, like, I just dropped the mic for you. That was, are you kidding me? Stop it. I mean, so I have 4 things to say, Barry. I have 4. I mean, like, I'm supposed to shut up and just like, but I got to say them because it's like, number one, like anytime I see that Barry Habib is on the same agenda I am when we're speaking, like I'm so excited. It's not even funny because it's like, look how excited he is about numbers. Like that guy rattled off 34%, 53 million, 124 million, 35% debt, 1.6 trillion, 11 million, 2.30, 1.5 million, 11 million, 17 times. I mean, he gave you a formula to figure out the price of a home. What's it rent for? Times 12, times 17. I mean, it's just like when he's on stage, it's like he's going to deliver this amazing, energetic, I mean, he's the most exciting economist I've ever met in my life. You know, it's like, that's an oxymoron. That's like military intelligence or, you know, deafening silence. It's like, you're an exciting economist. It's like that. So that's number one. Number two is one of the first things, Barry, that we did was we taught people how to create and lead their Facebook group. So everybody is creating these local geographic Facebook groups. And like, my whole thought around that was if you had an important message to deliver, how would you deliver that to the people you know or your town? And everybody's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, if you emailed it, nobody probably read it. It'd probably go to spam or whatever. If you tried to phone everybody, it would take you forever. If you sent it in a handwritten note, they wouldn't get it for 3 days. But if you had this urgent message, well, guess what? That is the Facebook group. And more people are on Facebook longer than in the history of Facebook. So guess what? Create and lead a Facebook group, which leads to your 1-minute video genius. Like, summarize what you learned in the Daily Dose, post it in your group. Summarize, and you're like, well, I'm not as, eloquent or articulate as Barry. So nobody is. Like, don't worry about that. Like, just take your notes and make it you and make it real. Just give an update and put it in your own words. And listen, if you mess it up, there's a delete button. That's what's so cool, So, and then like, message matters. Like we talked about, what are the 7 things that matter most that you can control and that you should worry about? And it's message matters. Like, your message matters. What is the message of the moment? Like, people want to know, like, if I have a job, what do I do? If I don't have a job, what do I do? People are doing forbearance without advice. They are making a mistake that if you had just said something, they may not have made that mistake. And then the last thing is, you're talking about, the finest way to learn is to teach. We have a philosophy within the Generosity Generation called each one, teach one. And our job at the end of the Daily Dose is to teach it. Take one thing, one nugget that you got out of this and teach another person. And I mean, kaboom, so it's like, what? All right. So let's bring it home with a couple things. One, if you have a question for Barry, put it in the comments below, or tell us what you think. What's your biggest aha during this session? And Barry, I have to tell you something. I know you're strong enough to take it, so I'm going to tell you. I was talking to somebody yesterday in the real estate world, and I go, I'm so excited. I have Barry Habib on tomorrow. And now, like I said, he goes, who's Barry Habib? And I go, that was my response. No, really. I was like, that was my response, Barry. My response was stunned silent. And that's what, but you got to realize, newer to real estate. So they haven't been in this culture for a while. And I have to tell you, one of the things I've loved about the Daily Dose is, like, people are jaw dropped by my friends. There's people that are new to you. Like, I'm like, what? This guy's Rock of Ages. This guy's like, mind freak. This guy's like, he's the Oracle of mortgages, So it's one of those where but you know what? There are people that are newer to it. And I just love that there are people new to you that just got what you gave today, and they love you. They love you like I love you. And I love that. I mean, that's Michael, a pleasantly surprise.
You're so kind, brother. I mean, God bless you and the things you're doing. And before I sign off here, I just want to tell those of you that are watching, first and foremost, I pray for you to be safe and healthy, and hope God puts a shield around you from this virus and keeps your loved ones safe. And appreciate you guys tuning in. And listen, just stick with Michael. I mean, he is a person that is a great leader for us in both real estate and mortgages, and I mean, he gets it. So there's a great resource for you right there.
I love it. Well, Barry, I appreciate you. I appreciate your relationship. I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate your passion for numbers. Like nobody loves digging into that stuff more than you do. And it reminds me of Jurassic Park. I don't know if I should go this reference or not. I am a little bit vulgar and have a slight edge to things. So luckily Barry knows that. But it's like in Jurassic Park, well, never mind. I'll tell the story later. But anyway, it's a big dinosaur. The dinosaur was sick, and the gal digs through the poop and pulls out the answer. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what Barry does for us. He's the doctor. He will go through the stuff nobody wants to go through, and he pulls out the nuggets in this small, simple brilliance that helps us make decisions. And not only that, it helps us make us look smart. So that's you in a nutshell. I appreciate you more than you know. And man, I just have to say thank you so much for being our guest today on the Daily Dose of Positivity and Productivity.
It's a privilege to be with you. It truly is, brother. You keep rocking it, my man. And those of you listening, thank you, and be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say as a repeat, remember your action item today is to deliver a 1-minute video. Like, who cannot do a 1-minute video? You can do a 1-minute video summarizing today. And I would encourage you, I know a lot of you you've started watch parties, but not everybody's going to make it to 40 minutes through a watch party. They're not, but they can make a 1-minute video. I'm telling you something. What he just shared with us today is a summary of April in a little nutshell. I did not have you do it in April because I'm telling you, you were already a little overwhelmed with doing the 150 project, with identifying your top 150, doing the calls, doing the VIP forms, doing the handwritten notes, doing the inviting them to Facebook. Now you have your Facebook group and you're like 25 are in it or 150 are in it. Well, your next step is this daily 1-minute message that you're going to do following the daily dose. You're going to summarize. Now, here's the thing. You could put your wacky spin on it. Keith Grogan is a master at this. That guy's the funniest guy ever. You know, he will put a funny spin on it. If you don't do humor like me, I am not funny. Like, don't do funny, but just spit it out. You know, it's literally one of those things. Here are the 3 things I learned from watching Barry Habib on the Daily Dose today. That's all you have to say. And then summarize it. And then if you don't like what you said or a hair is out of place, then delete it and do another one. And then, you know what? Even if it's almost perfect, I'd even dare you to delete it and do another one. You're going to hone your message. Remember, the 7 things that matter most. Mindset matters was the first one. Message matters was the second one. Like, hone and craft your message, learn how to communicate, learn how to teach in short bits, and you will become more influential. You get more referrals. You'll have more business. You'll have more happiness. You'll have everything you want in life. Message matters. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to say thank you so much for tuning in to today's Daily Dose of Positivity and Productivity, brought to you by referralspodcast.com. Please review us. We need 5-star reviews. Is that you? If you liked what you learned today, if you're listening to it on the podcast, go to iTunes, rate us with a 5-star review, give us a quote. I'll even give you a shout out, maybe. Now, it's also brought to you by the Generosity Generation. Listen, we are the generation of people who are building our businesses on love, generosity, and appreciation. If that's you and you think you know somebody who wants to build their life and business on love, generosity, and appreciation, share this message today. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is, listen, this is brought to you by ReferCo. We have 30 mornings that we're doing. You can go to 30mornings.com. Starts May 11th. It might be sold out on the East Coast. We need to double check that. Check it out. 30mornings.com. There's a West Coast version. There's an East Coast version. I'd love for you to join. It's never been less expensive. It is not free. Why? Because we want you to show up. I mean, that's what we found. If we charge you a little bit, you'll show up. If we charge you nothing, you don't show up. Everybody loses their energy. It sucks. We don't want it to suck. Therefore, we charge a little bit, and it's awesome. We have changed lives through 30 mornings. Our instructors, Neil Smith, Shalee Davis, Tony and Jen Scarparo, they are the best certified mornings coaches on the planet. They're the best. They know the content the best. They've been trained the best. They've went through the hardest training. Trust me on that. They've sweated bullets. And guess what? They've come out on the other side, phenomenal instructors. They are CRTs. They are certified mornings coaches. Check it out at 30mornings.com. Last but not least, listen, you thought, how do we do any better than that? We had Renee Rodriguez on Monday. We had Joe LaRosa yesterday. Cinco de Mayo party last night for 2 hours. That was crazy. Today we have Barry Habib. How do you top that? Tomorrow we have Roger Savvy. Literally, this guy is he's gonna crush every limiting belief you've ever had, and he is going to share with us what's your tennis ball. And I have to tell you, it's one of my favorite analogies, my favorite metaphors. And then we're going to round out the week with Shalee Davis, one of my favorite people in the world, one of our CRTs, certified morning coaches. We're going to talk about a really cool ritual that you've got to use to change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, Thank you so much for dialing in to the Daily Dose of Positivity and Productivity today. We will see you tomorrow.